Morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Ian Bong. I'm from Kuching. Let me just share my screen for a while. Okay. Hi. So, welcome to Medic Footprint. So, thank you, Selena, for inviting me to be one of the speakers here this morning. I'm really honored to have this opportunity to share with you guys. How is it like to be someone who does something very different from clinical medicine, and just sharing a bit of my story, what I did, and then afterwards you guys can just ask me anything you want. A bit about myself. My name is Ian. So I'm born 1990. I'm 30 years old this year. I'm from Kuching. I'm still in Kuching. I'm the youngest among three of my siblings. From a loving family. My parents were teachers lah. So now they're retired. So my background story is very common lah. Very simple, very average. Yeah. So if you ask me if becoming a doctor was it really my choice, looking back, actually, I would have to say uh, not really, because at that time, I finished my SPM, I had good grades. So in my mind, all I thought about was, just apply lah. I apply for the JPA scholarship, and then because everyone else were doing it, and then I was thinking like, it's just the right thing to do lah. My parents couldn't afford private education, so at that point I was actually thinking between applying for scholarship and then just that one shot to go overseas, and then it might be wasteful if I didn't apply. Uh, uh, Between that or just staying local, going to STPM and so on lah. So eventually I did get the scholarship, and then being a young 17 years old, to be honest, at that time everyone's brain is not really matured like 17 years old, to be honest. So you think you're so good, I can get to med school, I'm so smart, until when you become houseman, then you realize, I'm pretty sure if some of you are houseman, then you will feel, maybe you will feel the same thing that I did. It's like, what did I get myself into lah? Like, I didn't ask for this. uh get treated like very badly. So reality really hit me lah. I felt like, really being a doctor for the rest of your life, doing clinical stuff, it might not be for me. I had that thought. Even back in my first, second posting, I already was having that kind of thoughts lah. So my alternative interest back then, even before I started medical school, I actually was looking into banking, finance, computer science, programming. I have a lot of interest actually. So even until today, I still wonder, what would happen if I didn't go into med school. Always, if you refer back, you remember the poem that we did in secondary school, the road not taken, things like that. What will happen? But of course, it's too late now lah. But I mean, of course, it was a very good experience. I went to med school in Charles University in Prague, Czech Republic. So I was there for 6 years. And then I came back. I did my housemanship in Sarawak General Hospital in Kuching. Now I'm MO for 3 years already in Occupational Health unit. So I got my OHD license from NIOSH. So, um, so what is something different about leaving clinical practice? So the good thing is you have fixed hours, more time for family, more time to pursue your own interests. I already planned ahead, and I decided that I wasn't going to clinical side of medicine because I don't like on calls. I really hate on calls, and then I had some bad experience during housemanship. So that's why I decided to leave, so-called leave clinical practice. So the good thing is now I'm having fixed hours. I have more time. I can do whatever I want during the weekends. But the bad thing, of course, you give up a lot of things lah. If you leave clinical practice, the feeling of inferiority will always be there, and then you see your friends going into all those so-called prestigious pathway of specialization, neurosurge, pit surgery, all these very hi-fi, high-tech things. So of course, the feeling will be there lah. It will always be there. And if you decide to do something different, but you still in KKM, of course, there is no clear pathway for specialization, especially for non-clinical side. So of course, you will feel very lost. You will keep feeling like, is it the right thing to do or not? But of course, personally, from my experience, I did occupational health. So the silver lining was during the COVID-19 pandemic, everything was haywire. So suddenly, occupational health unit was thrust into the spotlight because now everyone was scrambling and KKM was lucky because they already established an occupational health unit. Basically, it's a unit that takes care of the healthcare worker themselves inside the hospital, and also basically it's inside a hospital lah. So everything we do contact tracing, we do. Now we are doing vaccination. Even today, I actually supposed to be at the vaccination. So so we became like a critical component to prevent the hospital from collapsing lah. So occupational health is one of the pathway that you can look into if you are thinking of not doing clinical practice. So that's my personal story lah. So already touched a bit about how the transition into non-clinical career. What's the difference? Of course, less clinical aspects. You don't see patients. You don't really interact with public a lot. So on the flip side, a lot more paperwork, a lot more different skills you have to completely start over. For example, Office, Microsoft Office, all these documents, all the cloud things, the Google Sheet. These are all our bread and butter nowadays. So it's like if you don't back up and you don't know how to use these things, it's like you are not really useful in the non-clinical aspect, because this is all they do. It's all about paperwork. It's all about documents. It's all about a lot of strategic planning. So the adaptation part, you have to be very quick lah. You adapt and develop skills completely different from what you study in clinical and med school. For example, communication, okay, how to handle conflicts, how to handle people, because we study in med school, we study about how to talk to patients and all that. So in certain aspects, you can sort of transfer the skills, but in the actual workplace, like how you deal with your colleagues, how you deal with your superior, how you deal with people. You want to get people to do what you want them to do. It's not easy because why would they listen to you unless these kind of people skills is very, very different. Of course, setting objectives, and then you answer to different people. Like for example, our unit, we answer directly to the pengarah. So sometimes pengarah have certain things, they just order what they want to do, and then you just have to think out how we want to do it lah. We don't have budget, we don't have this, don't have that. So you become very, very resourceful in a sense. So I learned that to make an impact in anything you do, people skills matter a lot. So if you leave clinical practice, you won't be using your clinical practice as much. You will have to depend on your people skills, because no matter how much you know, what's your knowledge, your rank, whatever, when you go to the non-clinical side, it doesn't matter, because if you don't get people to listen to you, to like you, you can't do anything basically. So that's what I learned lah. So what I'm doing now, I'm still MO in Occupational Health Unit during the daytime, but because if it's office hours, I do a lot of things outside of office hours because I have more time to pursue my interests. So currently, I have a lot of side hustles. Back in 2019, okay, I will talk about what I'm doing now. So basically, I started, it was more like a personal blog. I was very interested in personal finance. So I started blogging a lot about, things, anything to do with money. I will just talk about it on my blog, fiaholic.com. But surprisingly, I started earning a lot of side income from that. So now I still blog quite often there. So if you are interested in personal finance, you have money questions, you can just contact me there, and then ask, and then I'll just write an article about it. Now I also actually am pursuing certified financial planning, because it really does help in terms of giving correct advice to people and also legal advice to people. So I passed my module 1. There are 4 modules, so I'm still in the midst of that. I also joined Allianz as a life insurance agent. Back in 2019, I actually started a venture, 2019 and 2020. So I started a venture. It was a startup focusing in the B2B medical markets. So basically an online marketplace for medical supplies. But right now it's it's put on hold because one is we faced a lot of challenges during the pandemic, and then we had a big loss. So we had to put it on hold. So it's not really active as of now. But of course, when the opportunity comes, we might revive it later on. So I'm also doing part-time locum with Doc Tours. Doc Tours is basically an online telemedicine platform. So yeah, currently I'm doing a lot of things, different things. So the important part about striking a balance, you do a lot of things. You have more time, but then even if you have more time, most of the time is actually outside of office hours. So for me, because I have my family, I'm married, so of course sacrifice is part of the game if you want to venture into all these different things. The good thing is because I have no on calls, I have more time, but the bad thing, of course, less time for family. So sharing my experience when I was building my startup back in 2019, I flew a lot to KL because I'm based in Kuching. So weekends, I will fly to KL just for the weekend to meet investors, to go for the pitching, to go for all those workshops and all that. And then sometimes even I had to take leave, fly, for example, Friday I take leave, Thursday night I fly over, things like that. And also you have to accept you can't have everything because you can't be doing, like, let's say if you are still in clinical and then you want to try something, it won't really work because the less focus you put on it, your attention will be divided. So you can't put 100% into what you're doing. So just accept that you can't have everything. If you want this thing, then you can't have that. You want more time, then you have to accept you can't be a consultant, for example. It's just part of the game. But saying that, of course, you must give time to yourself to recover, to prevent burnout. So back then I was doing a lot of things. I was starting a venture. I had to plan for my wedding. I had to fly here and there. Then, a lot of things. So I felt very tired after that. So I had to take time off to recover. And then I'm telling you that it's okay because you don't want to burn out at this part. I mean, at this young age. So yeah, just a very short sharing. So my advice, if you want to try something new, you must be persistent. Just give it a go for at least few months. And then before you start, you must ask yourself, what is your big why? Where do you see yourself in 10 years time? Let's say suddenly, you see people doing e-commerce on the side and then you want to join e-commerce, but then after that, you tried once, twice, it didn't work. Okay, I don't want again. Then you try something else. Or you try, I don't know, selling things on the side. You try to do things. So, I mean, it's okay to try a lot of things like me. But then if you don't give it at least few months to learn the ropes and then just do mistakes and then get out and learn from that, then you can't really find your interest. So again, the big why is it that you want to leave clinical medicine? Why is it that you are willing to give up a completely different, you are willing to give up whatever your vision was during your med school and then try something completely different? So that's a very important thing, because otherwise, if you leave clinical, it's quite hard to get back into clinical side. Yeah, so be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up if medicine is not your forte, because personally, when I made the decision to leave clinical medicine, I know that I don't like clinical medicine. I don't like on calls. So I made the decision. I left. Of course, the feeling will keep on coming back. It's like whether it was the right choice. But then after a while, I made peace with the decision, and then I made peace with myself. I decided. I told myself, it's okay if I leave medicine. It's because it's not my forte, and it's okay because it's not for everyone. If you want to be good in medicine, you have to sacrifice a lot of things, and you know that. Okay, so if you leave medicine, you want to pursue other things for your own sake, for your own sanity, it's okay. So you must keep telling yourself that. Be kind to yourself. Keep your options open. You can try a lot of things, but once your goal is set, then you have to commit to it to see the fruits. Okay. One important thing, my take-home message: you must learn transferable skills outside the scope of medicine. For example, like for me, I learned a lot of things about personal finance, for example. So for you, you can, I don't know, learn something very different from clinical medicine. For example, writing, or for example, shooting videos. Okay, why I say this? Because if you read a lot and then you read about, there's this writer called David Perel. So he talks about what is called a personal monopoly. Personal monopoly means if you learn specific skill sets and you combine it, the intersection of that skill set is what makes you you. You get what I mean? Means you are the only doctor in the world who knows how to do YouTube videos. And it makes you very unique because you are a vlogger and you are a doctor. And then it's very unique because you have this very specific skill set and you can monopolize that space. So the more different unique skills that you combine, you become more unique and you become more valuable in the market. So this is my advice to you. If you want to do something outside of medicine, you choose one skill set, you improve at it, and you become the only person in the world who can do what you do. And that is very, very worth it lah. Another take-home message for myself, you must think about creating multiple streams of income, not relying on one single salary, because I understand right now, a lot of people, their contract, okay, what happens right after when your contract is finished? What will happen? You have no employee, you have no job, you have, I mean, it's very sad, but when the reality hits, what are you going to do? So if you haven't thought about it, then you start thinking about it, create multiple streams of income. At least if your salary dries up, you have something else to rely on, okay? And it makes you more versatile, it makes you more adaptable, and it makes you it makes you unique, okay? Before you jump out to non-clinical, create safety net first. So that's my so-called advice lah. You can take it with a pinch of salt. It doesn't apply to everyone, so you just have to take it. I mean, just apply whatever that you think is useful to yourself lah. A little bit about a short pitch about what I'm currently doing. If you're interested in a very different kind of career, actually, I'm already mentioned I'm doing some insurance. So my partners and I, we are still looking for people who are willing to try it lah. Okay, right now we have 5 doctors in my group, and then we have support and mentorship, and we still have a lot of opportunities still available. And the reason why I joined life insurance is because when you think about it, if you become consultant in 15 years, 20 years time, even if you earn a lot, let's say 30,000 per month, but then if you stop working, that's it, your income dries up. So with life insurance is different because you can build your own agency, and then once you build up to a certain point, your agents can still earn income for you. So that's the difference. Just a very short pitch. And if you are interested in this, you can contact me after this. So so yeah, that's about it from myself. If you have any questions, if you want to just talk to me about advice about starting your own venture, if you want advice on how to reach out to investors, if you want to just bounce ideas off someone to see whether your business idea is good, you can just contact me anytime. This is my telephone, my WhatsApp, or email me personally. Yeah, so that's my sharing.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ian, for a very nice talk. We have a question ready for you. It's
Okay.
from Tan Wing. He's asking how exactly did you steer yourself into occupational medicine, and is the salary equivalent to annual salary, and how often do you have to bring work home?
Okay. How exactly did I steer myself into occupational medicine? Haha. So, okay, occupational health was something that I studied during med school, so it's part of public health. Actually, everyone can do occupational medicine because you only have to get your license from NIOSH, the OHT license, and then you go to apply to your hospital's occupational health unit, and then that's it. But the thing is, yes, occupational health salary is equivalent to MO. You're not different from any other MO. So the occupational health doctor license is just for to enable you to do certain things legally. It's a legal requirement. For example, for medical surveillance, certain things under the law, they need an occupational health doctor. So you are still employed by KKM, you are doing, occupational health work in KKM. But if let's say if you quit and then you go to private sector, then it's a different story lah. Because certain sectors, for example, oil and gas, certain, for example, manufacturing factories and all that, they do employ occupational health doctor, and then you are looking after the health of the workforce lah. So the title, I mean, inside the name already itself already say occupational health. So you are doing a lot of things that are related to workplace. And how often do I bring my work home? No lah, I don't bring my work home lah. After 5 o'clock, I punch out, bye bye. That's it. So it's good for me because I don't bring my work home. 5 o'clock finish, bye bye. So it's good in that sense. So there's
All
another
right.
question. Yeah.
Yeah.
would it be possible to venture into occupational health without finishing housemanship? No, bro. Sorry. Because the title in occupational health doctor, one of the requirement is you must be a doctor lah. The license is already called occupational health doctor. So OHD is a license from NIOSH. You have to be a MO at least. But then they don't specify how long you have to be lah. Let's say if you just finish housemanship, you go to MO ship, you can just straight away go into occupational health.
Right, we have another question from Kumar. It says, Dr. Ian, have you heard of any Malaysian doctors sitting for the UK occupational health papers?
Yep. If you go to HKL, HKL's occupational health unit is Dr. Gogilan, and their Timbalang also is. Both of them have the Irish paper called LFOM, Licentiate of Faculty of Occupational Medicine. It's not cheap. I think it's about 20,000. But the thing is, even if you have this qualification, it doesn't work like MRCP. So there's no parallel pathway for occupational medicine in Malaysia. And from what I heard, people who took it, they will advise that if you are really very passionate about occupational medicine, only you take it. Otherwise, you know, in government setting, actually it's not really useful lah, because you are not recognized as a specialist. Even after you quit to the private sector, you can't gazette as a specialist. But yes, there are people who sat for the occupational health paper. Okay, another one. You mentioned earning from blogging. How do I go about that? Okay, first of all, you must like writing lah. If you don't like writing, then it'll be hard. Then you can start by just going to create a free, if you want to start it free, then you just create a free blog at your blogspot or wordpress.com. If you want to go a bit more professional, then you just set up your own website and then you install the WordPress blog, and then you just start writing lah, and then you be consistent. There are a lot of very minor details about it lah. So first of all, you must choose your own niche, what you want to write about, and then you must find the keywords that are really high in traffic that people are searching for, and then you write articles about that. And slowly, once your traffic builds up, then you can start, you know, finding sponsors, you finding collaboration, and then you can start selling products lah, and then you earn some side income from there. So basically, that's the short story from it. But of course, it's way more complicated than that. There are a lot of different things. I don't think I can answer everything in just a few sentences, but probably I'll write something about that lah in my blog lah. So you just follow my blog lah. Huh? Okay. Tan Wing has another question. Mind elaborating about your insurance hustle? Okay. So the story was my junior who introduced me to it. At that time, I was already pursuing certified financial planning, and then he saw me, he saw what I was doing. Then he was like, "Are you interested or not?" I said, "Okay, fine." The thing was that because after studying in depth about insurance, I feel like it's something that is not as scary or as useless as people say lah. Because I would say a lot of people who came from KKM background, they would say like, why do I need insurance? You know, I got government hospital. What? Anything happen, I can go first class. What? But actually, if you work long enough, then you would know that if you don't have insurance, you are actually contributing to the problem. You know, because our hospital is so there's so much workload. A lot of people come to government hospital exactly is because they cannot afford private insurance and cannot afford to go private hospital. So they come and flood your workplace, and then you are burnt out because of that. So I would say that actually, if you can afford it, you buy insurance, and then you can go to private for certain things. You can offload that kind of burden to private hospitals, and this is why I believe in private insurance. I believe in medical insurance because it helps to keep our healthcare system sustainable. So I ventured into it, and then I went for the agency, the agent course. It only costs about 140 ringgit. It's very simple for doctors lah, of course, because you get through medical school, and agent insurance exam is nothing lah. So then you become agent, you sign up, and then you start selling lah. Of course, there are a lot of training lah. They have CPD point as well, so it's similar to how we do our doctor I mean, you are required to go for training. You are required to do this and do that. So it's not as easy as certain people think, because nowadays agents are very professional. They study a lot, and then you have to have in-depth knowledge about insurance lah. Then after that, you just you sell, you become salesman lah. So a lot of doctors will be put off by this because they think, I studied doctor for 6 years. I want to sell insurance. I don't know where to put my face lah. Actually, on the flip side, I tell you, because you are a doctor, then people actually trust you more. Correct or not? Because you know exactly what are the terms inside there. All the critical illness, you got 6 years of experience. You know already what it is. But compared to other insurance agents, they see the table, they don't even know what it is. How you want to sell that to your clients if you don't know what it is? Correct or not? If you are a doctor, you know already all the things, all the 70 kind of critical illness, how does hospitalization work. So when you sell to your clients actually trust you more, because they will say, hey, actually, doctor, I have this, I have hypertension, can I still buy? So you will know how to explain, and then you are very knowledgeable already from the medical aspect side. So of course, it's not easy work. It's quite difficult, I would say, because a lot of people already have insurance, but I feel like Malaysia is still a potential market, because only 55% of people are covered. So the other percentage, the 45% people are still not covered. So a lot of people are still doing it. And then I know personally of people who are earning like unbelievable income from it lah. Of course, they've been doing it for a few years lah. We can talk more about it. You can reach out to me. I hope you got my contact number and all that.
So actually, I just want to chime in a bit about the medical insurance. As a medical doctor, before this, I would think that, oh, no need to buy insurance because I'm a government servant. I'll be covered by the government hospitals, right? So I'll just tell you a true story. So when I was a houseman, who was in surgical posting, me and my housemate, he's a guy, we were in surgical posting, we were on call one night. And then one of our colleagues, this girl, she came in with an anal fissure. So I just want you to just imagine this. Both of us were looking at the chart. I mean, the examination and all that. You can see that it was just described what the anal fissure was like, and it was just horribly described. So can you imagine if you were a houseman or a doctor in that hospital, you don't have private insurance, you have to go to a government hospital, happen to be admitted there. In the morning, board rounds, all your colleagues are there, and then they're standing there looking at you, discussing your anal fissure. So this is just something to think about. So that's just from me.
Yes. Yeah. So if you don't want to see your own colleague, then I suggest you buy your own insurance lah. So yeah, actually that's a very good reason a lot of people get insurance because they don't want to go back to where they work. For me, I'm in Kuching, and then we have a few private hospitals here, but the biggest tertiary hospital is in Hospital Umum Sarawak. So if anything happen a bit more serious, but I know that can be done in private hospital, let's say appendix, for sure I don't want to come back to my own hospital and see people I know, and they'll be like, hey doctor, because a lot of us, I know, we value privacy. So that's one of the things to think about for medical insurance. Now we have 2 more questions. Okay, Perlian asks, what's the difference between CFA and CFP? CFA is Certified Financial Analyst. So that's more useful if you are going to work in a bank or investment bank or stock research houses. For example, I don't know, Affin Huang. It's more technical. You analyze the financial accounts, you do some analysis, you research the stock, the company and all that. So it's more technical. Whereas CFP is Certified Financial Planner. Planner means it's more towards consumer and normal people, whereby the planner actually takes a holistic view of all your personal income, expenses. Then there's ask you your goals and objectives, and then they will craft out a financial plan for you and work with you closely. So CFP and CFA is very different. It's not the same. So CFP is more like let's say you are a planner, so you work with your clients, and usually it's a long-term relationship, because similar to how you have your family GP, right? Everything you go back to your own doctor. So CFP works similarly. You go back to your CFP, you throw everything to him, you ask him to help you to how you craft your own cash flow in order to achieve your objective. And then it's more holistic lah. That means not only investment, it also covers insurance, covers retirement, covers taxation, covers estate planning. Yeah, that's about it lah. So it's more holistic in a sense. How much does it cost to get CFP? Is it 4 modules? Yes. I think one module is about 2,000. So overall it's about 8,000. That doesn't include the exam. So it's, I think, round about probably 10,000. Okay, Evan Chu. 10 years later, what if you realize you failed to leave an impact on the society? What would you wish to tell your 10 year ago self? First of all, I will ask you, Evan, like, why do you think you failed to leave an impact on society? If you, to be honest, if I know a lot of people who became doctors have this, sorry to say, but all of us have inflated sense of ego, sorry to say. So if you are a doctor and then after 10 years, you feel like, you know, ayo, I am not a consultant yet, I haven't done anything, I'm not a hotshot doctor, I failed to leave an impact. I think that's a very wrong view of things, because like I said, you need to be kind to yourself. You know, you have to know exactly why you want to leave an impact on society. And then I ask you back, why is it such a problem you fail to leave an impact on society? A lot of people also did that. There are so many other average people. Just because you're a doctor doesn't mean you are, you know, Elon Musk or Einstein. So don't have that burden on your shoulders and think that you must do something. Actually, I was exactly like, I know how you feel, because, you know, I'm 30. Last year I had this sense of uselessness. I feel like, ayo, I'm 29, I'm becoming 30. What have I done? I feel so useless. But then after that, I feel like, you know, actually I've been pretty well compared to other people. I'm still alive. You know, I'm still doing, I'm able to do what I love. I think the key point is you have to be kind to yourself. I would tell my 10-year-old ago self, I would say, the road ahead is probably very difficult, but then you just have to stick to it and know that everything's going to be all right in the end. Yeah.
Actually, I would also like to chime in on that. When you say leaving an impact on society, it could be what sort of society. Even if you touch just one person's life, I think that would be an impact, because everything is a chain reaction and it's a ripple. Maybe you help one person, that one person helps someone else. So you can't really say that, oh, what sort of impact? Must it be something that reaches the history books? I mean, not everyone who's not every superhero wears a cape, right? So it doesn't mean that if you're not in the history books, you have not done anything for society. Just touching one life, that one person would have done something, that the ripple effect, you cannot imagine the kind of ripple effect that it can cause. So I don't think that none of us has made an impact on society. Every single one of us who have done something small that could have caused a big ripple effect. So I think it doesn't make sense that you would not have made an impact. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You're right, Selena. Which reminds me of a story, a very short story I want to tell. So there's this kid on the beach walking, and then he saw a starfish. Then he picked up the starfish, throw it back to the beach, throw it back to the sea. So he would do that, and on the beach there were a lot of starfish. You know, they get washed up on the shore. So there's this old man came along and asked the kid, what are you doing? Like, you know, there are so many starfish, and then you throw one by one back into the sea. You know, it doesn't make anything, right? You have so many starfish, how long you want to do this for? So the kid picks out another starfish, throw it back to the sea, and he tell the old man, it made a difference to that one. So you must think, who are the starfish in your life? You might not make an impact to society, but whatever you do, you made an impact to someone, and that someone will remember you. Okay, and that's all. That's enough lah. Okay, we have 2 more questions. Samuel Peter says, "Hi doctor, do you need to have a really good network to be an insurance agent, or do you need to do a lot of cold calling?" Yes and yes. I would say good network in the sense, actually what we call a warm market means your friends and family that you personally know. These are your warm market. And to be honest, I think not many will buy from you lah. This is just how it works lah. People who know you actually won't buy from you. Your first case maybe, I think 100% you'll be a stranger. So you need to do a lot of cold calling. Yes, because once you run out of people you know, then you have to get a lot of people you don't know to call them. But there are a lot of techniques, a lot of different ways how you get these people. Doesn't mean that cold calling is the only way. Nowadays, there are some very advanced techniques. Insurance agent, I'm pretty sure you saw some of the Facebook advertisement, okay, on advertising, hiba, things like that, blah, 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 blah. So a lot of different techniques. All this will be taught to you by the agency. Next question. Dr. Ian, what assets are you currently involved in? Stocks, crypto, commodities, property? I'm involved in everything except for commodities. I bought an apartment. I have stocks. I have robo advisory. I have crypto. Yeah, almost everything But of course, you don't invest in things that you don't know That's all I can say. And how do you know what to buy in? Of course, a lot of this comes from experience and knowledge. You have to read a lot. Except for commodities, unless you're trading it, I don't see any reason to hold it actually.
Ian, there's actually some question from our chat box. It's from Chandra Sigaran. Says, hi Dr. Ian, is it necessary to sit for the paper before joining into NIOSH?
Okay, actually NIOSH is just the qualification body. You don't actually join NIOSH. So OHD is a bit different in the sense that the license is not granted by KKM, it's granted by NIOSH. So it's a bit weird in the sense because NIOSH is under human resource, but they oversee all the labor, the workforce in the private sector in Malaysia. So yes, you must do the occupational health doctor course from NIOSH before you get certified as OHD and registered inside NIOSH database. Why is this important? Because let's say if you go to private sector, you go to GB clinic and then you do medical surveillance for a company, for example, for a factory. Some things they actually require OHD and it must be a registered OHD. So if you are not, then you cannot do it actually.
And there's also one from Tan Wing actually. He said, can you scroll back to Dr. Ian's insurance slides if you can scroll
it?
Yeah.
Hold on. Which one? This one? I think this is my only slide that I thought about insurance
Yeah, actually, yeah, he said yes.
Oh, okay. Any questions about this?
Yeah, is there any question for Dr. Ian regarding this insurance slide?
So the group of doctors that I mentioned, actually one of them is still a houseman and he's doing quite well. He's helped to everyone he come across, nurses, doctors, his houseman friends. He's doing quite well actually. What sort of insurance do I cover? Okay, the question. Mainly it's actually life insurance and also medical insurance. I focus more on the medical insurance because that's what we already know. So it is harder for other people, but for us it's easier because we already know the things inside. So there are many different types. Basically, it's the life insurance. Life, medical insurance, critical illness, personal accident, these four. So difference being you have life insurance and you have general insurance. General insurance means like car insurance and all those not related to life. So when I talk about insurance, I mean general life insurance.
Just to chime in on that, actually, I do know a lot of people who don't have life insurance, but they have car insurance.
You know why? Because car insurance is mandatory. You have a car, you must get a car insurance. Otherwise, you cannot drive it on the road. The police, JPJ will catch you. But yeah, a lot of people don't have life insurance.
So it seems like the car is more valuable than their lives.
Yeah, funny, right? When you think about it, because according to actually these statistics from WHO, this 70% of population actually develop critical illness at some point in their life. 70%. So if you apply that statistics back to us, you would think like, oh, then I should get life insurance because I have a 70% chance that I'll develop something in my lifetime. And when that happens, you get the insurance to cover you. So It makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. I also don't know why, because a lot of people still don't get insurance. But I think probably it has to do with the misconception. They would think like, I pay so much, then I get nothing in the end. But actually, because I'm from occupational health background, so one of our forte is risk management. So when you talk about risk and hazards, it's actually the same thing as what insurance cover, because these are the risks that you cannot plan for. Means, let's say if you go skiing, you go to a very dangerous part of the slope, then you know that there's a possibility they would have an avalanche. So I was reading this story by Morgan Housel. He's one of the very famous, I think, venture capitalist something. So he was relating his own personal story. He said he was young, he went with his friends to the ski slope, and they went to a part that was actually closed because it's dangerous, and then they were cordoned off. But then otherwise, if you do it, then you're on your own. So he went with 3 of his friends. It was just a very fine morning. The ski slope was so nice, crisp snow, sunlight, everything. They went there, they ski down the slope. The first time round, there were a small minor avalanche, and then they made it down to the base safely. Okay. For the second time round, 2 of his friends say, let's do it again. But for some reason, Mr. Morgan didn't go back up. For some reason, he just said, you guys go ahead. I want to head back to the base camp. So he went back alone. 2 of his friends went there. They want to try again. Then he waited at the base camp for 2 hours, 3 hours. Then he started to feel, why so weird one? Nothing happened. Like, why they take so long to come back? Wait, until night time, they still haven't come back. So at that point, they know already something bad has happened. When they went back to the ski slope, there was a huge avalanche. Okay, and it took a few hours to find the body of his 2 dead friends buried under the avalanche. So that story really made me think that you can plan for a lot of things. You can plan for your health, you can do exercise, whatever. But it's the one single avalanche in your life that will destroy 90% of what you work for. And insurance does exactly that. It helps you to cover the tail end, the catastrophic, destructive element in your life that you cannot plan for. You have no way of knowing. And Mr. Morgan was so lucky he didn't go back up and ski down the slope with his friends. And that one decision really changed his whole outlook on life. Because for him, now he became a very conservative investor. Now he just think about the downside risk. And for me, I feel like, because I also do with risk management, I also think about downside risk. You can think a lot about investment, crypto. Will Bitcoin go up? Will Top Glove go up tomorrow? Will this new altcoin go up tomorrow? Will I buy this property, is good or not? These are all upside risks. It can go up, you make a lot of money. But a lot of people, I can tell you, they don't think about the downside risk. What is the downside risk? A very critical illness. Cancer, for example, cancer easily costs you 300,000, 400,000 in treatment costs nowadays. Let's say you get diagnosed with lymphoma. Do you have 300,000 now to pay for the treatment? Of course, you can say, I go to government hospital, what to do, right? But if you are in KKM, you know how it is. You know the waiting time, and you know our public hospital, what's the limitation. A lot of treatments we don't have. So these are the, I say, tail end catastrophic risks that you cannot avoid or you cannot plan for. There's no way of knowing. So that's why insurance is important for me. And that's why I sincerely, wholly believe in it. And I think the way things are in 20 years time, KKM hospital is not sustainable. You know it, I know it. And yeah, so that's why I buy insurance, and that's why I believe in insurance. That's why I would tell my doctor friends if they think what they think about insurance.
Actually, I totally agree with you, Ian. It's just like right now the healthcare system is just not sustainable, because everything is supposedly free. So people come in 1 ringgit just to, because it's just 1 ringgit, and you can see how, like, for instance, the contract system is because of certain issues with the funding or that, then the policy has to change. So we cannot just keep thinking that the government is going to subsidize and pay for all the medication. In due time, it's going to shift. So I think before the shift happens, you need to just prepare yourself.
Yes, that's exactly right. So I know for sure something will happen. I don't know what is it, but 10 years time, 20 years time, the healthcare system in Malaysia is definitely gonna look like what we have now, because it's simply not sustainable when you have patient coming and paying 1 ringgit just to get 150 worth ringgit of medicine, and they don't even acknowledge it, they don't even appreciate it, they throw it away, you know. So when you have that kind of patient, how long you think government can afford to pay, you know? It's definitely not sustainable. And I think a lot of Malaysians, they are so pampered because of this free healthcare. They don't know how it is in other countries. From where I studied in Czech Republic, because it's sort of a national health insurance scheme. So everyone actually has insurance. So they go to a specific hospital, and if they go to a different hospital, they have to pay. So I think in that sense, Malaysians don't know how it is, how lucky they are to have our kind of system. Actually, I think in the world, only probably UK has a similar system. Otherwise, a lot of countries, they actually have a national health insurance scheme. For example, Taiwan, everyone pays some amount every year. So that's why Taiwanese system actually is very good, because it's actually okay. They can still sustain. But even now also, they are feeling the struggle, because healthcare costs will always go up. And if you have nothing to fund it, if you just rely on government, the quality will eventually go down. And that's what actually you are seeing in KKM, because they have never revised the price. Everyone is still paying 1 ringgit, and some medication is all free, you know. And certain patients, when they come, let's say they do OP, for example, and then they do the implant or all these things, some things everything is subsidized. So all this comes from taxpayer money, you know. And then Malaysia doesn't spend a lot on the healthcare side. That's why we are overworked. That's why we are burdened, and that's why a lot of people burn out. And that's why, unfortunately, the contract housemanship system comes in, because government tell you, sorry, we don't have a lot of position. So that's the harsh reality lah. But I think to fix this thing is quite difficult. It takes a lot of political will. So any more questions?
Actually, Dr. Ian, from our team, right, we have a few questions from our team member itself. There's one one question to you, which is where do you see yourself in 5 years' time, given that you have so many things at the same time on your plate? What will you do? Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? What's your plan?
Short answer, I don't know. Long answer, I feel like last time I'm always very ambitious. I have, you know, I set goals. I tell you, when I was stupid and young, I would just say, okay, by 35 years old, I want to be a millionaire. I don't care how it is, I want to be a millionaire. Now I'm 30, I have 5 years left, and I think back, you know, 5 years ago, I was an idiot. I don't know what I was thinking. Why? Because life is very unpredictable, because you can never know. You can always plan, but you don't know what will happen. And just take it as it is lah. For me, I'm always grateful, because every day I wake up, I still have a healthy body. I'll just do the best with the opportunities that I have lah. Even like when I met I met my wife. Very personal story. You all are lucky. I'm sharing this very personal story. How I met my wife, we met on Facebook. So I say it's very unpredictable, because I sent her a friend request. We just chat for a while, and then I went to KL. We met up, we dated. Suddenly now she's my wife. If I ask myself 5 years back, will I foresee this? Of course I won't, because back then I had a girlfriend, and then we broke up after 7 years. So now I'm with someone totally different. Life is unpredictable. You can plan for it, but then when it comes, you know, things will change lah. So I will just take it one day at a time. Even now, when I mentioned about my startup, the one I did in 2019. So back in last year, when the pandemic hit, actually we lost a lot of money, and then we feel like, you know, this thing is a failure. I don't know what to do anymore. So I told my teammates, you know, sorry, we had to shut this down. But just yesterday, my friend came back and told me, actually, there's this very famous public health physician. He has this idea which you already thought of 2 years ago, and he wants to do it with us. Now we have the funding, we have the investors. Are you in or not? You know, this kind of thing is so unpredictable. You know, last week I say, okay, I'm in the midst of shutting down my company. Just yesterday, suddenly the call came. Then now I have, I'm thinking, you know, maybe I should just quit and just run it full time and things like that. So 5 years time, I hope that I'm still here alive. Maybe I can come back and do another sharing and update you all what have I done in these 5 years. I hope that I'm healthy and well, and maybe doing something that is useful for at least someone out there lah. Yeah, impacting somebody lah. I don't care who lah. And that's all that I need. I think we have still one last question. Is it? Do we have still have time? Okay. Last question.
Yeah, sure.
Dr. Ian, do you plan to back your PhD bond? Yes, this is one of the dilemma because to be honest, a lot of my friends they didn't come back. They stayed in Germany. Some of them stay in Europe, and then they are paying back lah. So for me, if I leave, of course, this is part of the planning lah. I have to account for that lah. Of course, for me, if I leave, I will have to make sure that my salary that I get in the private sector will definitely cover my bond lah. So definitely it's a dilemma. So as I say, it's not simple lah. 5 years time, that's the time actually my PhD bond finishes. So I might still be in government. I might not. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. Yeah.